Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Refracted Curvature, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Very, very well indeed. Something came to my attention through a discussion in the Master B back office chat for this show on Skype about JTolan Media. And I've got to be honest, I don't pay a great deal of attention to JTolan Media. What I actually see is people extracting out various different infrared and long distance imagery that he takes from aeroplanes and going, wow, look how Earth is flat. And you go, oh, that's very good. But I've never really, although I am subscribed to him, paid close attention to what he's actually doing. someone this morning, Michael, is outraged. Oh, I'm subscribed from this person. I'm like, well, why? He's like, well, go check it out. It's an absolute outrage. I'm like, okay, well, I'll have a look then. Let's have a look. So, a little peruse on double speed of this JTolan Media video, and he's looking at NASA imagery is professed to have been taken on missions through sky vacuums. And analysing the, and I quote, atmospheric conditions of the moon. Now, I left one word. It's not even a real word as my reply in his comment section, because this is a brand new video. Came out in the last 7 hours. And I had a little quick check of the comments. I'm like, is this April Fool's Day joke? I noticed there's one with the comments. No, I don't think so. I mean, JTolan Media does his own thing. He does do a lot of long distance photography. But he also takes quite a few extrapolations that we would just laugh at in terms of acquiring distances to the heights of the sky, for example. So after watching this video, outrage had ensued in my back office, as I say, Master B on Skype. And I just went, oh, well, what else is JTolan Media up to? I wonder if there's anything in these titles that is directly related to things that we do. And the first thing I came off the back of looking at the video that had been outraged at was another video where he's talking about acquiring the height of the dome. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll find the timestamp where he juxtaposes the terrestrial measurements where you can get heights of things and use basic trig and even use it in navigation, as opposed to the parallel sky with the ground and the failure to change in angle as you raise an elevation. But he doesn't. He just uses it to acquire heights of stuff, which I sent to Adam and I was like, here you go, 11 minutes 55 in this video. Have a look at the maths. It's only about 25 seconds long, or what he's doing. So you can pour your outrage onto it. I just didn't realise. I mean, to my knowledge, JTolan Media is a flat earther. Therefore, to be assessing imagery from missions that have taken place in sky vacuums, which was the original video the outrage was expressed about. Maybe we'll have a look at it. Maybe we won't. We don't necessarily need to. Yeah, that's obviously farcical. I mean, it just made me chuckle that people in our arena are still talking in those ways. So, has anybody else watched this video before we move on? And I'll maybe pull it apart a bit more. Maybe we'll do some housekeeping. Who knows? So exciting. Anyone else seen it?
I haven't seen it, no.
No? Okay.
Oh,
Go on, John.
I thought we were going to cover vegetables on the moon, but yeah, I'm really interested to see where he goes with the height of the dome.
Well, that's a separate video that he made about a year ago. So, I mean, that's something yeah, I picked out something that I thought would be interesting for us. But that isn't necessarily what sparked the outrage. And I've been subscribed to JTolan Media for as long as he's been around, which is maybe, what, 3 or 4 years? I don't know, maybe it's longer. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. My point is that I haven't been paying close enough attention to realise that this kind of nonsense gets pushed out there. I know it is, and we address it, right? You just don't necessarily expect it to be in someone that's so heavily referenced like JTolan Media. But there it is.
Right. When I seen the video, when I seen the thing in chat, I mean on Master B, I was asking Michael, is it, doesn't he give us long distance shots? Is he not a flat earther? Why would you be talking about the moon and landings? I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. But he's never. Has anybody reached out to him? Does anybody speak to this guy? He's doing his thing, and you know, I remember David Weiss telling me when I first met him, or first started talking to him, let's just say, that he had come to the subject of flat Earth before coming to NASA fakery. So there was a time when, you know, he was a flat earther and hadn't even considered certain aspects of space fakery, right? It came to him in a different order. You know, I mean, how that figures. You don't know what you don't know. Therefore, the order that you come to it in is kind of random in some cases. Now, in the case of JTolan Media, we take the bits that have been presented by others who have obviously cherry-picked it from his information. And in the same way as in the pre-show, we had Humble H moaning that he's putting out information, or was it Lumpy? I forget who, one of the two, putting out information that's critical of narratives that include sky vacuums and violations of the second law. And suddenly you're the bad guy when a load of flat earthers around you either feel embarrassed that they haven't pointed it out first, or they want the argument to continue with the nonsense waffle of the opponent. For one of those two reasons, you get called the bad guy for pointing out these highly effective arguments. But if you haven't heard them, if you're JTolan Media and you don't know, well, the journeys that are claimed to be taking place to get this imagery that you're analysing, beyond the stuff that you've captured yourself, requires you to believe that the sky is a vacuum in violation of a law of nature. That's entropic law and gas dispersion in this instance. Gas fills space. So to say that they've gone to space to get these pictures, no, they haven't. Definitely not. But you don't know what you don't know. So maybe we'll be the first to tell JTolan Media a good chunk of your information's garbage because it's being taken from references that have claimed to take place in places that can't exist. So you can't analyse photos from Narnia. Their credibility is immediately ruined based on the journey claimed to be taking place to take the images. Right at the conclusion. Who is that? Go ahead.
Sorry, but in 2024, Nathan, you mean to tell me this guy has not heard that you can't have gas pressure without containment in 2024? I don't think so.
I don't know.
He's heard it.
No, it's the implications. You might have heard the argument, but if you don't realise or don't take it in fully, you don't realise that some of the stuff that you're assessing has a narrative attached to it that includes a journey to a place that doesn't exist to get the images. If you just haven't appreciated that because someone's taken you through it in the way that I've just summarised it, you don't know what you don't know. Anybody from the chat? I'll have a quick goosey at the live stream chat and see if there's anybody who's got any comments on this. If you have happened to have seen it in the last, I think it's only come out in the last 10 hours. But if you happen to have had a goosey at JTolan Media's latest video, then let us know your opinion in the live stream chat, as we can actually go and have a look at it while people are reacting. There's almost 50 people here. I know we've only just started. I know we haven't. We've been now got a slightly different clock on, haven't we? Yeah, 10 or so minutes. Yeah, we've only just started and we've got a good chunk of, 60 people watching now. Well, someone obviously shared in between that sentence. But yeah, let us know if you've seen it. Divergent Droid has actually put a link to it if you want to go and watch it now. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He's a friendly as far as I know, so it'd be brilliant to actually promote people in the algorithm when they're probably suffering the same thing we do in that regard. So yeah, please let JTolan Media 1, I think is the name of the channel, know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link going by in the live stream chat from Divergent Droid. But if you happen to have seen it already, please give us an idea of if you're like just laughing at it like I did, watching it at double speed, or if you're like Michael Khan, who's like, I'm unsubscribing based on this garbage. I mean, what's your attitude to it? I'm kind of indifferent, really, at this point. I don't know about any of you on the panel.
Michael said he's going to unsubscribe.
I think that's what I only gleamed over. I watched the video and he was like, watch this. And I'm like, okay, because I asked him, well, what's the big deal? He was like, well, just go and watch it. So I did. And then when I came back to the chat, it's like, I scrolled back up and I'm sure he said that he'd unsubscribed. I can't remember. Maybe I'm mistaking it for something else. You know, I only had a cursory glance at Master B this morning. Should we do a bit of housekeeping? We're still early enough in the show, aren't we? Why not? Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
Ask JTolan Media.
Well, if we start with the conclusion that there is a space that gas isn't filling, we can start talking about trips taken to such places and what happens there and try to debunk the physics of that place.
No, without the container, you cannot have pressure.
Yeah, you've got to step into a paradigm that violates the natural law, right, John?
Yep. Yeah. You gotta kind of whistle past the graveyard, as QE says, to even have that discussion.
Okay, we'll get some opinions from the chat. So, never heard of JTolan Media. We'll check him out, says Richard G. So there's obviously people who just don't know of this guy. We've mentioned him a few times, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the audience is acutely aware of this particular individual. Thank you for letting us know. Richard G is also one of my members, so, you know, it's not like he's going to be some newbie. Yeah, please let him know, Richard G. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Throw him a sub, why not? It's got some wicked imagery. Jay says it with tongue-in-cheek, says Richard Spillman. Does he? I mean, he's got a bit of an accent on him, and you read in between the lines a little bit there, and a few of the other commenters under his video alluded to that. So, maybe, but we just don't know. I don't want to divine his motivation. I can only go on the words he says. So when he's talking about atmospheres around the moon, I'm like, what, sphere-shaped air in a sky vacuum? Atmo what now? So you say it's tongue-in-cheek, but he says what he says, you know. Iron FE as well has unsubscribed, says Christian. Oh, I don't know if he has or not, but speak on his behalf, why not? Thank you for letting us know. He must be gutted. Handful of flat earthers have unsubscribed. Hope he's okay. Yeah, that seems a bit unnecessary. You know, if the guy's, I don't know, chew the meat, spit off the bones, maybe. Level bastard. What a name. Thank you for your comments. Keep them coming. I'll read out a few more of them as they come. Gas fills space, says Christian. Yeah, exactly. But doesn't necessarily mean he knows about him. Saying him because I'm thinking about juxtaposing this with one of the chat commenters that didn't know about him. So just because we know about him and we know what he's talking about, and we have now lent extreme importance to his, let's be honest and fair, nonsensical assertions of atmosphere, oxymoron, sphere-shaped air around the moon in a sky vacuum, based on imagery that's been taken from said sky vacuum, in some instances over the plane of an obvious globe Earth. I mean, when I did get to that point, whoever it was that said that from the chat, that he's saying it tongue-in-cheek, it did certainly seem that way to me when I got to that part, but only because cognitively to me, the moonrise images are so farcical to me now, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are to him. I mean, as I say, you can only go on what he says. Any more on this? I said I was unsubscribing. What others do isn't my concern, says Michael Kahn. Yeah, I wasn't in any way using you as a lever to suggest people should do. Quite the contrary. In fact, hopefully you're not annoyed because I'm sending people his way, Michael. Go and tell him that I've sent them. So there we go. Maybe we should have a little look at this. What do you reckon, guys? Should we have a little looky? Yes, Nathan, really keen. No? Yeah? Our panel have all gone to lunch.
Yeah,
clearly.
definitely.
Light it up in this ad. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. So let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. As I say, mods will be sticking a link to this particular video right now in the live stream chat. I should do my own call to action and explain why I do that each time. Consistently, I have to date. The reason we suggest people go and let other videographers know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment that hopefully won't get removed is to hopefully get the same back in return. That is to say, where YouTube do not favour flat earth content that is pro-flat earth, the algorithm will sort through to anti-flat earth presented if you search for this subject, which means we get shoved to the bottom of the lists. Now, if you are to react to our videos, this is true for friend and foe, we would hope that you'd put a link to our video like I'm doing for JTolan Media 1 now, and sending people his way, so that we at Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, collectively as Flat Earth Debate, can receive in some of the YouTube algorithmic love that we desire but do not receive. So hopefully he'd put a link to our video if he was to respond to us and say, no, you've got it all wrong. This is tongue-in-cheek. I do appreciate that the moonrise images are completely ludicrous.
Is life still thriving on the moon?
What's the moon? Anybody? What's the moon? Life thriving on it? What is it? How do we know there was ever life on it? Why are we working on the immediate presupposition that there was ever life, that there could be life, that it potentially harvests life, or I just don't understand it. What is the moon? Do we know? No, we don't.
Are we beholding a magnificent desolation, frozen in time?
What is it again? For us to assess whether or not we're assessing desolation over time? I don't know what it is.
Is the truth hidden from us? I invite you to come with me on a journey of discovery. But of course, it was behind some thin clouds. But nonetheless, its temperature could be survivable on the surface. The most amazing thing that caught my
So by now, he's obviously already ascribed physicality and surfaces to the moon, as you can tell.
attention was this halo around the moon. Is it an atmosphere, thermosphere?
Thermo, what now? No. To describe gases not filling areas of volume is utterly absurd. Based on thermal imaging, you can't suggest that there are gases surrounding something in a sky vacuum, which is in essence what I object to the most in this video. No, your speculations are null and void because you've got second law of thermodynamics violation, atmosphere, oxymoron descriptions within them.
It really fascinated me, and that's when I realized what is really happening.
No, you didn't. You're just going to describe the sun heating up the moon.
The solar angle of illumination relative to the surface dictates the amount of heat that's being deposited.
Does it? Verified by what? How have you checked this is true? Oh, just based on this. So this is the same as spectroscopy extrapolation from heliocentrism. There's a mouthful.
And so we see a bright red, which indicates a hot zone.
What, therefore the sun's heating it up? Why? No. No evidence. Just a baseless assertion. Well, baseless beyond this thermal imaging.
Right normal to that vector. And also, when the phase is half, we look and notice that there is also a tiny gradient, indicating the presence of an atmosphere.
Really? So what? Because you can see light gradients, that means that you've got sphere-shaped air not dispersing into an area of volume without containment. No, this is a straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation, JTolan Media. Were you unaware? It's not like we've been saying it for the last 7 years or anything.
This was incredibly fascinating.
Not really. It's a second law of thermodynamics violation. It's just a blurry image of the moon. But nevertheless, you can extrapolate out oxymoronic, sphere-shaped air without containment, not dispersing into volume in violation of natural law. You can speculate and then say it's a revelation. It isn't. It's garbage. But maybe you were unaware. Like I say, you don't know what you don't know. Well, we're here to tell you. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
But I wanted a little bit more resolution.
This is the bit where it gets, to my own estimation,
emotion.
quite farcical.
much. It is quite interesting and fascinating. I've been to Kennedy Space Center so many times while living in Florida, and I've enjoyed it every time, but after a while it gets old. Here's me learning to pilot the space shuttle. There's lots of exhibits and things to see,
And he's now going to lean on the imagery that's been taken from these vessels from sky vacuums. They haven't been to sky vacuums to take the imagery he's about to assess, but he's going to assess it anyway. Go ahead.
He's a space cadet. He's a space lover. Look, he's all giddy.
No, Nelly, guys, I think he is just joking. He's poetry talking about something that
What, how do you know?
he's mocking the people.
How do you know?
Because I have got so many videos from him, and that's his way to talk. And then maybe he will answer the question. He making up that people are thinking about. He's not saying this like that. There's a lot of questions. What can we say if people are saying that the moon is in the atmosphere? Then we have to ask, oh, if it's in the atmosphere, what about thermodynamics?
underestimated slightly.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned it earlier, we're going to go to this other video. Hopefully Adam will join and we'll get a bit more of an analysis of it, but I'm only going to play about a minute.
By about 0.004 of a degree. That's 6/7 times the angle for 1 pixel. And so the final values are shown there. 3.824, that's the final in radians, 0.066741 radians. And in terms of pixels, 851.3 pixels. And so we'll use this value together with the values derived from imagery to calculate the distance to the stars.
Hopefully you all caught that. We're doing terrestrial.
What?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Can you rewind that just one more time? Did he just say he
Just break up while asking the question. That's the most important bit. Perhaps you did.
calculate the distance to the stars using terrestrial geometry?
Yes, he did.
Radians. And in terms of pixels, 851.3 pixels.
So it's currently talking about the triangulation to a mountain in the distance, yeah? Perfectly reasonable.
And so we'll use this value together with the values derived from imagery to calculate the distance to the stars.
Right. There you go. As I say, I wanted Adam to have a quick listen to the same section, and hopefully he'll give his analysis on it when he gets here, if he gets here. So there's things not to like about what JTolan Media is doing. For the benefit of the audience, as we discussed this in the pre-show, there is a distinct difference in terms of how you measure the sky versus how you measure things that are physically capable of having a tape measure and up them, if you will. So if you're doing navigation with a lighthouse and you've got the position on the map, then you've got something that you can physically triangulate with standard trig because you know heights, distances. You've got all the information you need for triangulation of a position. But you can use, for terrestrial objects, standard trig, which would involve the height. And can involve the height because you know the height. Okay. Then you move over to a completely different methodology, which isn't using all the standard trig and standard geometry that we would expect from a physical item with a height. And that's when we use celestial navigation. Then the circumstances change completely. You're dealing with a parallel plane, that's the sky and ground parallel with one another, and the angular representation doesn't change with altitude. Obviously, contrary to what you would expect with something like a lighthouse, where you go up in height and the angle decreases. Or if you're above it, you decrease and the angle decreases, or whatever. Depression angles, elevation angles would behave in a certain expected manner if the item has a fixed height. The stars do not, so you treat them differently. Now, in terms of their physical relationships to where your position will be, with a calculable distance based on the angle, over a given piece of land, you can use that to, I don't want to say triangulate, but that's the best way. Use 3 circles of equal elevation to pinpoint your position using the stars and their locations at given times, as noted in the almanac. So that makes a principle that does not comport with standard principles. But he's convoluted the two, JTolan Media in this instance, to infer that you can get a distance to the stars. And he's basing it on a land measurement with presumably his focal length as part of the mathematics, although he did use pixels. Nevertheless, you can't do that. The stars don't have a fixed distance. The sky doesn't have a fixed height. Everything that you run along the sky in terms of a baseline and angle to anything in it will always be the same angle regardless of height. You're just dealing with a parallel plane that doesn't behave in the way that you'd expect anything else to behave. Anything else I should add to that, John or Neil or anybody else? Johnny?
I have a problem with JTolan. He thinks he can triangulate the sun or the stars somehow with theodolite or geographic measuring and so on. And he's given us some number and doing like that and using some software and measurement. So he came from the world of the technical and so on. So he is something. Sometimes he's not serious. He's trying to be telling us some poetry, maybe. But nobody can say no against his infrared photography and distance and so on and so on. So, okay, keep on.
Because that's not how it's done. You need to refer to ground positions. In other words, you need to refer to the grid system that gives us the ground positions to do these maths, not with pixels.
Yeah, you cannot work with pixels because everything is apparent that we are seeing is not exactly there that we are seeing. Therefore, we are not able to triangulate the sun.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You've got a perspective view of the world, but that doesn't represent a dome. That's an extrapolation from how you view a parallel plane. That is to say that as the stars move away from your position, as they move through their cycles in the sky, they're moving over different pieces of land. And depending on the star, let's pretend that it's one that's definitely moving further and further and further away from you as it reaches the horizon, as they all do. Well, that circumstance has been documented, but the way you view that is to say, let's pretend the star started at your zenith and then throughout the night makes its way to the horizon, right? Just for ease of description. Well, if that was the circumstances, to your view, what you described as apparent, Johnny, that apparent representation is that it's dropping in the sky, but it isn't. Yeah, that's just how it looks to you. Well, we've extrapolated that out into a dome and then tried to then use the mathematics of how things behave when they are physically cemented to the ground in the case of a mountain versus how the stars behave, and they just don't behave the same. So there is no comparison to be drawn, but JTolan Media is drawing one. And it's just our apparent view, as you described it, a perspective view. Yes.
Can you then just repeat and say that's the problem with JTolan? Everything is a grade around and so on, distance and so on, photography and so on. The problem with JTolan is that he really thinks he can use some measurement to get some kind of triangulation of celestial object. And the pixelization, and he's counting pixels. That's absolutely nonsense in this scenario that we are in. No, we are not able to do that, just like I said before, because that we're seeing is apparent view. That's all.
Fair enough. But if you're suggesting that he is doing it tongue-in-cheek, then that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why would you do that? But
doesn't make no sense at all.
What doesn't make sense? What do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean?
There's no point in having this conversation. We're just trying to divine motivation, and it's pointless. Let's not do this. 70 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Please let JTolan Media know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's going to be links going by as we're being fairly critical of some of the things that I've not randomly but sought out in the last 24 hours to critique.
Tedious, so I've taken 30 exposures out of the 2 cameras, left and right, 1 through 8 were ruined as I was moving the camera to the location. So here I'm starting to process L09, left and right. So I copied it from the right over to the left. I'm naming the layer. We have to copy as new layer. And
It's actually not this video I wanted to cover. Sorry.
change.
This isn't actually what I wanted to stick with the other one. It was only that one little section that we've already covered. Sorry.
It's quite enjoyable. Let's listen to what Jim Lovell has to say.
I'm going to spin on past this. There's various bits that I wanted to show his opinion of, which is where we get to the Earthrise picture, somewhere around here. Might be towards the end. There we go. Somewhere around here. Stupid ads.
Control. The hyperspectral imager on board Galileo took this photo of the moon, and look at that greenery. Wow, when I saw that, I said, that's the true color of the moon right there. It corresponds with what Apollo 8 photographed. Just incredible, folks. And then the Himawara 8 and the GOES satellite imaging suites confirmed the same thing. Here is one of the most incredible images.
Don't sound tongue-in-cheek to me, but when I watched this morning, I was like, really? Is this serious? And that's where I scrolled down and saw some comments saying, is this April Fool's? What's going on? Really?
After I saw this incredible, breathtaking photo of the moon, folks, I had my answer. I knew what the correct color of the moon should be. It was this one. Even though it was low resolution, there's a lot of greenery right where Apollo 11 landed. And so I was anxious to process the high resolution images to confirm that. So without further delay, here's the incredible high resolution photos of the Apollo 11 landing site that
Prepared to be totally
Okay,
underwhelmed.
it has to be a joke. It has to be a joke. I never heard him talk like this.
Does
and
it?
Give something example like this. It's absolutely insane. What can
I
I say?
produced.
It's what happened. He has to say
Wow. Amazing.
Oh.
You're breaking up.
Okay. Can I finish that? I was trying to say there is some problem there. It's not JTolan. It's like I get paid or treated or something. That what you're showing me here is absolutely nonsense. So everybody can see that. That's going through all of this material that we have gone through. It's absolutely nonsense that you're showing here.
Yeah, we know it's nonsense. I'm not disputing that, right? But he's still putting it out there. But it seems like you're making apologetics for him, and it's just what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he had never done something like that before. So I'm wondering what this is about.
As a PhD, shouldn't he know that claiming there's temperature within a vacuum that could be measured from a distance, right? Because he did make that claim. Shouldn't he know better?
There's a lot he should know better about, but that's why we're looking at it. I mean, we've got people apologising on his behalf, people saying it's a joke, asking if it's April Fool's a few days early. But we don't know, do we? So maybe we'll get a response. Maybe he'll do a response video and explain it to us because we're questioning it, right?
Well, we know he's made a video right now. That's all we can go by.
Yeah. I mean, again, Michael was the one who brought this to my attention in the Skype chat, and he's like, well, he's just chat on all of his good work. by doing this. And yeah, that's kind of why it's worth a reaction. Would you not agree?
Yeah, definitely. And he's trying to use charisma. It seems to me maybe he, I'm not going to get into that, but I wouldn't do that. I know it. I'm not going to deceive people. Thank you, Nathan, for doing this.
Oh, I mean, he just caught my attention because he's a well-known name. Not to say that everybody in the chat knows who he is, and hopefully he does, you know, pick up some algorithmic love from us sending people his way. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Divergent Droids just dropped their, or his link, so you can do exactly that now. Like I say, hopefully he'll make a response and he'll put a link to our video and he'll explain his motivations. Or he'll just say, no, I'm just using the mainstream rhetoric. This is reminiscent of Ballbusters about 6-7 years ago. And Bob Notail, rest in peace, was talking about the NASA claims that they'd fired something at the moon and it rang like a bell. And for whatever reason, Bob liked that narrative and just decided that that particular piece of garbage from the same lying source that everything else we debunk comes from is valid. That there's an area you can travel through to get to fire stuff at it so that it can ring like a bell. You're like, why? It's just selective cherry picking of evidence that supports whatever narrative you want to put out there. Now you've decided that because NASA say it rings, that's somehow supportive of a narrative that you want to push, therefore that bit of information is true. Like, no. Even though maybe at the time some of us in this arena weren't aware that you can't travel to the moon via a sky vacuum, we'd all be dead, the gas we're breathing would fill the space. But they still did it and it still rung like a bell. No, it doesn't work like that. No, all claims from Narnia are garbage because they claim to come from Narnia, a place that isn't real. There is no sky vacuum. There is no journeys to the moon. There's no satellites taking pictures of this stuff from space. So, you know, all of these narratives are just bunk. Shout out to Brian Bender, FDFE, no container for GP. Gravity takes care of that. Ooh, can we test it then? Thank you for the super chat. Do we need any more of JTolan media? Have we heard enough? Do we want his conclusions after showing the moon landing site? Yeah, is this it? Is that it?
They do
I can
not
see this
want
is one of the
to
beginning of the
give us
weeks.
to keep it all quiet.
Sorry, hold on.
Just
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wasn't saying anything important. I was just saying it sounds like the beginning of the week to me. Very slow and dreary.
Do you not think it's out of character? I mean, we've got 90 people watching this, Neil. Okay, I mean, if this is dreary to you, seems right up our alley to me.
I'm talking about everybody. Everybody sounds like they're dead. Nobody's responding. Who's in chat? Is anybody here? Who's on G Plus?
We were just talking to Johnny and Lumpy and... Okay, Neil.
incredible, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and if you have, give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for more. I'm only warming up. I have a lot of gear and I'm processing all the other Apollo landing site. Thanks again for watching.
Look at the image he's using. Right, the stop motion animation of the models. Seriously? Is this really what you're using? I mean, come on. I mean, it does make me chuckle, but without divining his motivation, you can just take what he's put up on screen. He's studying these fascinating images. This is done on a little miniature set. What the hell? It's a model on strings. What? Really? Okay.
I don't know what to say because he is showing in many other videos how a long distance. He is saying all the time, the Earth is flat, and so on and so on. And, oh, that's so beautiful, guys. The Earth is flat. And then in some other few minutes later, or the next video, he's talking about some nonsense. Not saying that something is happening in space and so on. That cannot be. Then you're taking the argument against that the Earth is flat. So he's against himself. He's talking about one time something up, saying that the Earth is flat, and the other time like everything is like it was before, and it's a globe and
Gotcha.
spinning, and
They're saying he's a shill.
or maybe he doesn't understand it. He's not grabbing it. Yeah, measure it flat, but he's still living in a fantasy somehow.
They're saying ignorant or a shill.
Ignorant, maybe, but he has a great job and a lot of talent and a lot of skill. He cannot be stupid.
Again, why are you making these apologies? Do you know this guy? Have you ever spoken to him?
No, I have followed him few years and his work, and sometimes I'm pissed off because he never can come to the point really. But I love what he has done, using his time and effort, and he has flying all over the place, and he using the infrared imagery and long distance and so on. There's a lot of things that we can grab from him, but at the same time he's still in somehow in his mind in a globe.
Okay, hold on one sec. Just going to shout out Brian Bender. He says, I have a photo of a fake moon or Mars backdrop that was taken at JPL. Would love to share it. Yeah, join the Discord server. Hopefully someone can stick it in the Skype chat and we can actually get it up on screen. Wonderful stuff. Thank you for the super chat as well. Really appreciate the support. Please share the show if you've not done so already. It'd be great to get up to 100 people watching. 87 currently watching. Where are we? We've got about a quarter of an hour left, so yeah, nice to get up to 100. Smash that share button if you've not done so already. I don't consider this dreary, Neil. It's one of those things. Why he's put this out there, he might have a really good explanation. Whether or not he even feels it necessary to explain himself. He's like, well, why wouldn't I accept this imagery of the stop motion animation models? They're real. They're told to us to be real. Okay. Or the satellite imagery that he appealed to. You know, maybe we will get a response from him. Who knows?
I wasn't talking about the
I'm
video.
pretty dumbstruck by it.
Neil, then
Yeah,
John.
John.
Go on, Neil. We can hear you nice and clearly now.
No,
then, John.
I wasn't talking about the video. I was just talking about, I guess it's just another Monday freaking morning.
Life is sweet as far as I'm concerned. Neil.
I was
Yeah, John.
dumbstruck, Neil. I was just dumbstruck by the whole thing. Like, I couldn't. Like,
Neil,
have you ever
please
just had a moment where you're just taken aback completely? That was that for me.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to say, and the dumbfounded reaction that Neil's like, has nobody got anything to say? And it's like, what can you say? The people that have made apologetics for him and said, well, this is leaving, well, Johnny's suggestion he's either a shill or he's just ignorant. Well, okay, that's a reasonable kind of conclusion that average Joe's going to come to when you assess this at face value. You're like, what else can you suggest? What the hell is the only thing you can ask? And hopefully we'll get an answer from JTolan Media. What the hell? This is where you need that soundboard. What the hell? I'm my own soundboard. I can do it myself. Don't need a button. So, yeah, has anybody else got any opinions on this from the Discord server? JTolan Media.
Yeah, I think there was a bad soundbite from you, Nathan. Maybe use some black that really can sing.
Okay, thanks for
This
that.
is about as bad as it can get, in my opinion. He's trying to validate the moon landing. I mean, what in the world? And I think he promoted like flat Earth things, possibly. Again, this is divining motive, and outcome. Maybe he's being paid to now punch a bunch of
I was just going to say the
nonsense.
same thing, Lumpy. Maybe he's getting freaking paid.
Yeah, we already had it from
that's
Johnny.
kind of the direction.
Yeah, Johnny hinted
I
at
think
that.
he's just making
Hold
fun.
on, let's just give Johnny props. It's not often we get get to give Johnny props. He was a lot more subtle about it. I had to say chill based on extrapolating out his subtlety. Now you two are like, maybe he's getting paid. Yeah, far less subtle. Kudos, Johnny. That was, you know, nice and subtle, so I could say it on your behalf without you having to say it. And maybe he is getting
Oh, that was
paid.
something new to say that I'm doing so well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, it could be just algorithmic exploitation. He's spotted, because he's not dumb, that, hold on, if I go in line with the narrative, that'll get heavy promotion. Well, let's just go in line with the narrative then. Let's just talk about pictures from sky vacuums and how wonderful they are and how amazing they are and how much I'm going to study them and compare them to stuff I have actually taken of my own.
Okay,
All slotted into the narrative.
I have some.
Go on,
Okay,
Johnny.
I have some information. I know people because he was inside the battery of like NASA and all of these technical people. He was doing a lot of work that was for inside that party. So he got a lot of people who was almost threatening him and saying and taking him down in many ways. And he's a man that's always flying out all around the world and so on and so on. He needs money. He cannot stop living without money and some support. So it's like if you stop this fucking nonsense, then we will give you the money. And if you don't take the money, we will do something that you don't like.
Well, it's
Okay.
algorithmic money. It might not necessarily be directly someone handing over sweaty fistfuls of cash. Okay, let me just respond to XB Black Ice. He says he doesn't validate it at the end of the video. He says it was in a studio. Let's just have a listen. We've only got 1 minute left.
Watching, everyone. See you in my next video.
There was nothing there.
No, there was nothing there.
So,
Well, I just wanted to check because I had only spun through it earlier. But no, unfortunately not. He doesn't say it was in a studio, but it was. I did. We said.
I can say, I just, it's a fucking, oh, sure.
No swearing.
Sorry. I know.
I've got to get a box
I'm
now.
just thinking about it. It's terrible. I'm terrible. I'm trying to think it's just a silly joke or something that he's doing, and I will give some clarification later. He has done that before. So maybe he is just having a fun of both sides, and he's a loner, just going his own way through it.
Johnny, are you a
That's it.
fanboy, Johnny?
No, of course not.
There's
I'm
no-
just
there's no-
trying to find some excuse. Of course, I cannot see the excuse, but I'm trying to find something.
Yeah, it didn't sound
That's
like
all.
he was white knighting for him. He's just coming. I'm asking for why. I'm asking for explanations, and he's digging deep to try and come up with them. And like, he's fanboying for him. Like, well, there's got to be some reasonable explanation for this because unless he's poking fun at both sides and just having a bit of a laugh, you know, that's the current speculation on the table.
Yeah, so that's on the table. It can be just joke from him, personal joke somehow, and we're not grabbing it. We're not able to grab that joke really because just coming out us
Sure.
like that, and we.
But
are
if
very
that is the
sensitive.
case, Johnny,
That's-
I find that objectionable because I take this seriously. You know,
Yes.
so
Exactly.
that is objectionable, but we don't know that. That's your speculation. We're just spitballing about what could be the motivation for this crazy video that's come out from JTolan Media. But by the same token, I can dig back, as I did and showed, and we haven't had Adam graces with his presence, but maybe we'll discuss it with him tomorrow. There is still an aspect that you can look at that he's done in the past in terms of elevation angle measurements, terrestrial versus celestial, and pick floor with it like we've done. Well, we weren't picking floor with it 12 months ago because obviously he's metaphorically slid under the radar in that regard. Now, the fact that he's now done something else that's objectionable to Michael Kahn specifically, and it's been brought to my attention through that means that he's just happened to have watched that video and gone, whoa, It's like, well, where was your objection 12 months ago when he was talking about measuring angles to the stars and getting heights of domes? You know what I mean? In other words, this is not out of character for him from what I've seen over the last 24 hours just from having a quick cursory look. So, does it matter? You just need to tell him. Space is fake, mate. Did you not know? I know you've been to the Kennedy Space Station and sat in the LEM, but it's not been to a sky vacuum. Maybe you were unaware. Gas-filled space.
But anyways, I will say something. Never heard you, Nathan, say that, because that's a great point. I think I'm trying to say now. If you're able to take angle or elevation angle to any star, sun, or the moon, and you're able to come home over 700 miles, 1,000 miles, or whatever, and you're home after this measurement, then the Earth is flat. There's no other explanation. If you are able to use that and use the elevation angle and to the horizon that is in front of you, straight in front of you, nobody can say the Earth is as spherical as a ball, because that's impossible. Because we are talking about extreme long distances. And you are able to take the sun on the horizon. You're talking about thousands of miles away.
Are you? We don't know the distance.
And then we get the circular
You don't know that.
altitude.
Oh, you do in terms
No.
of the GP position. Okay, I'll take it back. Yes, I see where you're going. I should have.
He's
held my tongue.
talking. He's talking. Yeah,
Okay,
he's
and
talking
then-
about the land.
Yeah, he's talking about the
See.
distance to GP. I interrupted unjustifiedly, but it also gives me an opportunity to shout out Brian Bender. So, shared photo in main text chat on Discord. Can one of my mods stick the chat share that Brian Bender has just put into the Discord server into Master B, so we can have a quick goosey? Hopefully we can get it in before the end of the live show. 97 people watching. Oh, so close to 100. Please share the show if you've not done so already. And because there's 97 people watching, a very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. You've probably only joined us because one of the regular live stream viewers has shared the show. So thank you to all of you who shared. A very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Please share the show if you've not done so already. And let JTolan Media, as we're discussing him primarily today, know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me if you hadn't done so already. Lots of calls to action right before the end of the show.
I will just say, do you know why I have almost over 100? It's because I am on the show. Just
Okay,
think
this
about
is sorry. This is the image from Brian, I assume, with this tripod and this picture of Mars or Jupiterscapes or whatever they are in the backdrop. I presume this is your picture. No heritage information, so we don't know what this is, but that's what he sent us. Thank you for sharing it with us. I'm sure we'll get a better backstory from you in time. What's this pyramid thing? What's that all about? These are obviously backdrops. I can recognise a set with backdrops easily enough. Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the super chat. 100 people watching. Right at the point that I'm going to round out in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much for all of you who shared the show. It's nice to get to 100 people watching. Sweet, says Old World Vegas, who's got a new channel name, apparently. Good to have you all in the live stream chat. Christian says, no sky vacuum. Yeah, that's the main theme of the show, Christian. You know, if JTolan Media hasn't learned already that you can't have gas pressure without a container and that gas disperses into volumes of space, otherwise known as the space that he's thinking these photos have come from, they haven't. You can't have gas pressure without a container. In the background, through the fence, says Richard Spillman. Hopefully he's talking about that picture. Go ahead, Neil. Sorry. Just reading some of the chat comments. 103 people.
I was going to say, nobody has ever demonstrated gas pressure without containment. So, I mean, come on. What would it be pressing on if there was no containment? There would be no pressure.
Yeah, without the container, there can be no pressure. Conspiracy Cats from about 5 years ago. after being asked by me
Yeah, and,
about 100 times.
and I hear people say gravity is the container, but what's gravity? Bending of space-time can affect gas behavior?
No.
I can't find that anywhere.
Yeah, but the effect that it would be having to have, according to the narrative, is to make it go down, go boom boom, go splash splash. Well, gas doesn't behave that way. Regardless of their apologetics that would infer that gas go down, go boom boom, it doesn't, Neil. It is as simple as that. Gas expands to fill the volume in all instances. 108 people watching. Cool.
Yeah, that's why I think that's so important. How Brian broke that down. That really weight is it's nothing. It's just effects of buoyancy. Correct?
Yeah. Then circular reasoning would take gravity to be an effect of a description within buoyancy to be ascribable to an extra effect that is the overall description. That is buoyancy for anything that goes up. Ergo, ascribing a gravitational downward vector to push things up. And in said narrative, gas go down, go boom boom. But it doesn't. Gas expands in all directions to fill the volume.
Hey, can I jump? So another thing you could express entropy as is temperature dispersion. Now, is temperature being pulled down? I mean, it's absurd, right? So, right.
Well, that's Brian's territory. Absolutely. They're all intrinsically linked to temperature. You can't have temperature without a container would be one of Brian's correct assertions, because these three things are all connected intrinsically. So yeah, you can't have temperature without a container either.
Well, separate from that, Nathan, say you have a hot cup of coffee and the room ambient temperature is 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and whatever that converts to in Celsius. However, the coffee would be hotter than the room environment. However, it's going to disperse that heat energy, which is similar to gas pressure energy dispersing to equalize. Now, that equalization process has, when you consider it with temperature, has absolutely nothing to do, and it can have nothing to do, and it's entropic. So therefore, if somebody were to be able to position it in that sort of context or that sort of way to reason out an issue and to understand better what entropy is, that way we can maybe get to the new people that this is not that, or gases. Well, I mean, you say it, and absolutely correctly. It is not falling down going boom, boom, splash, splash, but to parallel that and separate from the containment requirement for temperature, but a hot cup of coffee or a hot pin nail or heat from a hot stove, if it's electric, would be a better way to, you're going to feel the heat coming off of it, pushing into the cool, which is identical in essence. Just
yeah, it's the same. It's a similar hot to cold is the same in terms of the entropic description of gas dispersion, is what you're trying to say. And yeah, you're right. I just want to read out this comment from Sven P. He says, well, the plot thickens, and we shouldn't be surprised. I do believe the power of contradiction is a very popular tool among some lodge-dwelling folk. And then he's got an all-seeing eye. Very good, Sven. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. JTolan is definitely a flat earther. You can watch him in a Level movie and or Next Level. Those two documentary/movies. Yeah, well, it would certainly seem the case, but as we've been doing in this show, you can only go by what people actually say. And we're doing just that, regardless of if he's got a justification for it being tongue-in-cheek or trying to play both sides. Again, all have got various objections that we would hold to that based on that statement being true. Thank you for your comments. Temperature, vacuum, and gas pressure require containers. Yes, they do, Christian. Any more for any more on this? If not, I'm going to round out and ask people to stay tuned if they're watching on an after show. No? Yeah? No? Clearly not. With that, though, I will say if you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, a massive thank you to today's G Plus live panels and Discord live server for making today's live show possible. Obviously, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 member, hitting the super chat and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!